traveling with the family, I rewarded David, who is always so serious and kind, with a little something because, hey, a drinking trip is the best. When I called Joshua, he was happily drinking at our destination. His cheerful demeanor is enough to boil my blood. And yet, because of Joshua and David, Olivia was left crying in the dark at home, holding the baby. Her hair was mercilessly chopped off, with the left side of her head shaved so close it might as well be bald. She didn't even have eyebrows. It turns out they punished her for cheating by ganging up on her. "Cool your head," Joshua coldly said. I couldn't believe that David, who seemed like such a fine young man, could do something so violent. I don't need this. Not this family, not these memories, not anything. I've decided to leave Joshua and David too. I'm not holding on to any regrets or feelings. I'm Sarah Miller, a housewife in my late 50s and love to work. Right now, I'm over the moon. Because my only daughter, Olivia, is getting married. Today, her boyfriend David came over to greet us. My spouse and I were seated opposite side of Olivia and David. David sat as straight as an arrow, blinking way too much and obviously nervous. I fell for Olivia, my mentor at work, and went after her over and over. I nearly gave up after being turned down for movies and theme parks, but we got closer after she agreed to grab some burgers with me after overtime. Stop, that's embarrassing. You don't have to share that. David, scratching his head shyly. Oh. Is that so? Sorry, I thought it was important to tell your parents how we met. Olivia is 4 years older than David, who turns 30 this year. Looks like we've got a case of the wife being the older one. He seems like a kind man, so maybe Olivia will end up leading the household. David looks quite nervous. His hand was slightly shaking as he lifted his coffee cup. After drinking his coffee, David made a declaration. I will definitely make Olivia happy. David, please take good care of her. Oh, yes. I felt relieved that my daughter's fiancé seemed like a sincere man. I watched Olivia and David leave from the front door before returning to the room. Joshua was lying on the couch where David had been sitting, playing with his smartphone. During the greetings, Joshua didn't speak a word. He's usually not much of a talker, but he can at least manage greetings like good morning. This time, he didn't even utter uh-huh or yeah. He just looked away with a stern face. It's not an exaggeration to say that David was nervous because of Joshua's attitude. During the greeting, I made sure to apologize to David, saying, "Dad's just nervous. He's not angry, so please don't worry." I've heard that fathers often take their daughter's marriage harder than mothers do. Imagining him pouting inside, thinking, I don't want to lose Olivia, made me smile a bit. David seems like a nice guy, doesn't he? When I said this, Joshua twisted his face and went, huh? He often falls silent when he's in a bad mood, but it's rare for him to snap. His suddenly sullen voice made me tense up. That guy's nice? You have no judgment. He's just sucking up. Look, the liquor he brought, my favorite kind. But it's expensive, and I rarely buy it. Oh, I hate it. Thinking he can make me happy by giving me expensive liquor. He probably researched Joshua's favorite things and chose the gift accordingly. I don't understand why he complains after receiving his favorite liquor. Since he works at the same company as Olivia, it must be one of those unnecessarily large, famous corporations. So what if it's a big company? Just because they pay well doesn't mean they're better than others. Showing off that he can afford expensive liquor is just annoying. Is his outburst because he's having complex feelings about his daughter's marriage? But even if he feels lonely about losing his daughter, this is too much. Let's stop. We don't know much about David yet, it's wrong to speak ill of him. Olivia chose him. Let's trust her. After I spoke up, Joshua's demeanor deflated like he was letting out air. He slouched, looking unsure, and mumbled, swallowing his words. This is typical of Joshua. Unable to find the right words, he chose silence, but his irritation was evident in his slamming doors and clicking his tongue. Occasionally, he would burst out like this, but the moment I intervened calmly, Joshua would suddenly become silent again. It's sad that I can't share the joy of Olivia's marriage with Joshua. I remembered a similar fuss when Olivia was going to college. Going to college? That was the first time he had said anything like that, in the winter of Olivia's senior year of high school. Despite her studying all the time, at home and in tutoring, it seemed he hadn't noticed. Why? You don't need to go, do you? It's gonna cost money, right? Olivia explained her desire to go to college diligently. But it was as if Joshua wasn't listening. He absent-mindedly stuck his pinky in his ear while looking in another direction. He blew on the dirty fingertip he pulled out of his ear as if to blow away Olivia's passionate arguments. Study, huh? Rather than that, you should get out on the job site early and learn the work. There's a guy my age at my company who's a college grad, but I can't figure out why he's been promoted over me. All that study talk is just lip service. College is just a place to mess around. What's so great about being a college grad? The prejudice is staggering. Still, if I insist on supporting Olivia's decision to pursue her education, Joshua falls silent. Despite Joshua's clearly unhappy demeanor, Olivia managed to get into her first-choice college without bending. Joshua didn't even offer congratulations. His sulky attacks have become so routine they hardly bother me anymore. And this time, with the marriage, Joshua went beyond his usual grumpiness and raised his voice. It seems David was indeed bothered by Joshua's attitude. Despite how unpleasant it must be to deal with someone as rude as Joshua, David kept inviting him out for drinks. At first, Joshua was stubborn, but as he shared drinks with David, he gradually opened up. It was thanks to David being a good listener. So here's the thing, David, I hate people with fancy degrees. Despite my having more real-world experience, I can't understand why someone just because they have a degree gets to climb up over me. Isn't that messed up? Yeah, Dad. Joshua was in a good mood at our dining table. When bringing over some snacks, I whispered an apology to David, but he just smiled and shook his head slightly. I have high hopes for you, David. Despite being a college grad, you're humble. Yeah, that's good. A college grad without a title, huh? So you must be a man who can't really do his job, right? I hurried to stop Joshua as he started to demean David. Again, David just smiled, it's all right. See? Look at this. In our house, the wife calls the shots. I've failed in educating my wife. But, David, there's still hope for you. Think of your wife as your servant. Don't worry if you can't achieve at work. After all, others won't appreciate us rightly. Make your home your kingdom. Got it? There you have it. Yes, I understand, Dad. This was the first time I saw Joshua drunk like this. Perhaps he's happy because a college-educated person is bowing and scraping to him. That doesn't excuse his rude words, but David kept his smile and continued to boost Joshua's ego. What a remarkable person he is. He worked hard to get along with his fiancée's father. I was completely assured that Olivia's future would be bright. They would have a wonderful married life. Joshua came to accept him, and Olivia and David got married without a hitch. They live in an apartment about a 20-minute train ride from our house. Soon after, Olivia got pregnant. Coming back home for the birth? No way. Kids are noisy. Olivia asked to come home for her delivery, but Joshua immediately refused. It's your first birth, so it's natural to feel anxious. I'll cut back on work and support you properly. We won't bother Joshua, so please, let's help her out. We're family, after all. Just that was enough for Joshua to pout and fall silent. I guess I have to do whatever you say, I can almost hear his inner voice. I don't want to ignore Joshua's feelings. So I explained how important postpartum support is, but Joshua wouldn't say yes or no anymore, leaving me at a loss. She'll be coming over the day after tomorrow. She'll be coming tomorrow, I counted down to inform Joshua, managing to send Olivia home for her delivery. Olivia safely gave birth and is now taking it easy at our home. The first grandchild is a girl named Ava. Holding a newborn baby after so long, she's soft and smells sweet. Even Joshua couldn't help but smile at this cuteness. He doesn't know how to handle a baby and doesn't fuss over her, but he pretends to pass by and sneaks glances at Ava. After about a month of resting and recuperating, the day for Olivia to return home arrived. David came to pick her up, and I felt a bit sad that this happy time was coming to an end. David, it must have been tough being alone. I feel bad for letting Olivia indulge in this kind of pampering, taking a break at home. She's been lazing around here as if trying to make up for a lifetime. Once she's home, she should make up for all the time she took off and work hard. Joshua probably said that, trying to sound important, treating David almost like a subordinate. I was about to scold him when David spoke up first. Okay, understood, Dad. David seems to have gotten quite used to handling Joshua. He agrees just to avoid any conflict. I don't want to go back, Olivia muttered anxiously. That is unusual for her, usually being so strong. What's wrong? Before Olivia could say anything, David wrapped his arm around her shoulder. You can't always rely on your mom, he said as Olivia nodded, holding back tears. Maybe she's found it hard to leave because she's been so comfortable at home. Even though I won't be able to help as much from now on, with David by her side, I shouldn't worry. I've cut back on work quite a bit this month. I made sure to come home early, avoiding overtime, and even took a few days off. Instead of being worn out by taking care of Ava, I felt energized and more motivated at work. When I returned to work, I was immediately assigned to go on a business trip, as if they were waiting for me. I'm fired up to work hard and buy my adorable grandchild some toys. A few days later, I came back from my business trip. It was too late tonight to visit Olivia's house with gifts, so I planned to do it tomorrow and hold Ava. Excited by this thought, I approached my front door when I faintly heard a baby's cry. It was a weak, frail cry. I was happy thinking Olivia came to my house, but suddenly felt uneasy. Something was wrong. My house was completely dark. Opening the door, the crying got louder. No doubt about it. Ava was inside. But why were there no lights on?
Olivia, are you there?
No answer. Only Ava's crying echoed. I rushed through the house, throwing off my shoes. When I opened the living room door, I could vaguely see someone in the dark. Hesitantly, I turned on the light.
What?
I instinctively screamed and stepped back. There was Olivia, holding Ava and shedding tears profusely. But I couldn't recognize it was Olivia at first. Because her hair was chopped haphazardly, and the left side of her head was almost completely shaved.
Olivia? Are you okay? What happened?
I rushed to Olivia, and she didn't even have eyebrows, not just her hair. I almost screamed again and instinctively hugged her. Olivia's hoarse crying went straight to my ears, making my heart ache unbearably. I held her for a long time. Finally, she began to tell me the reason for this horrible situation in a trickle.
Dad did this. What? Why?
No matter how grumpy or angry he got, he had never laid a hand on anyone. Could this be some mistake? But Olivia's next words confused me even more.
And David. What?
That's impossible. David, of all people. I was so shocked I leaned back, and then Olivia's wandering eyes caught mine. In that moment, I knew it was true. Olivia would never lie. But why? Olivia struggled to speak and then told me an unbelievable reason. Because I cheated. That can't be. But, actually, I truly believe in Olivia, but this story seemed so far-fetched. Struggling to keep my sanity, I called Joshua to check the facts. Hey, hello? Joshua answered the phone cheerily. It sounded noisy in the background, like he was out somewhere. Seems like he was drinking.
Where are you?
I tried to ask gently after taking a deep breath, but my tone came out harsher than intended. However, Joshua seemed too happy drinking to care about my tone. On a family trip. Family trip with whom? With David. gave that earnest and kind David a reward. A drinking trip, the best. You're on your business trip, trying to look good, but you're probably just enjoying the local cuisine, right? Nothing beats the food and drink when traveling. While Olivia trembled beside me, Joshua cheerfully responded. He apparently didn't remember that my business trip ended today.
Oh, a drinking trip, just the two of you guys? What about Olivia and Ava?
Ah, she's on house duty. Had a bit of a situation, you know. We went out on purpose to give her some space to cool off. It was hard to reply with a simple I see without feeling bitter, so I pulled the phone away from my ear. Anger was overflowing, but it felt pointless to unleash it on this cheerfully oblivious man.
Even guys need a break now and then. It's unfair for women to always use kids as an excuse to take time off. That's why I took a week off. Let the office figure out they can't get by without me. You'll find the house a mess when you get back. Did you think I would clean up? No way. I'm not a cleaning robot.
In the background, I heard voices agreeing, yeah, that's right. Unfortunately, one of them was David's. Any faint hope that David had just been swept along by Joshua was cut off. Stunned after hanging up, Olivia told me. He wasn't a good person after all. It was actually David who. Tears overflowed from Olivia's eyes again. Even Ava, who was nearly asleep in my arms, started fussing. I couldn't bear to see their sad tears anymore. Hurt Olivia and then go on a trip? Call that a family? What were the last 30 years with Joshua and Olivia for? A father who himself pushed away his daughter of 30 years is no longer needed. I quietly asked Olivia, still trembling.
Do you need a family like this? Shall we leave it behind?
As I spoke, memories of the last 30 years flashed before my eyes. The day Olivia was born, the first time she called me Dad, Joshua was overjoyed, crying and jumping around. It seemed he truly loved her when she was young. I was about to remember him fondly, but then I recalled all the times he became sullen for trivial reasons. There was even a time he left Olivia and me in a distant park because she called me Mom more often than Dad. The bad memories outweigh the good by 100-fold. Not to mention his recent treatment of Olivia. Joshua's role in the family was now non-existent. Olivia, still shaking, looked me straight in the eye. I don't need it. Hearing her answer, I nodded deeply. We don't need this kind of family, these memories, anything. I resolved to leave Joshua and David behind. There wasn't a shred of regret or affection left. A week later, Joshua called incessantly like a demon. I finally answered the phone. I was bracing for a shouting match by lightly covering my ear, but Joshua's voice was surprisingly weak, as if he was probing. The house is gone? Silence hung as I didn't respond immediately, and Joshua continued in a fluster. I'm pretty sure this is the right place, but the house, it's gone. Right, David? This is where the house should be? Ah, yes, it's gone. It must feel like they're in a dream. Anyone would be bewildered if something as fundamental as their home simply vanished. When they returned to their familiar home after a week, there was nothing there. No gate, no flower bed, not even the large house itself. Everything had vanished, leaving behind just a bare square plot of land. Oh, that land our house was on? I sold it. Sold it? What do you mean you sold it? Joshua's voice pitched up. He seemed to forget his anger, unable to grasp the situation. So, I sold it to a real estate agent. It was an old house and starting to fall apart. More importantly, I didn't want to live in a house soaked with memories of you. I thought it best to just demolish everything. It was my house, bought with my money, so I did what I wanted with it. Huh? No way, you're kidding. Joshua's deflated whine was nauseating. Ignoring him was unpleasant, being yelled at was unpleasant. But his weak and sniveling demeanor was exceedingly irksome. Joshua always had an inferiority complex towards me. Because I earned more. I never berated or looked down on him for it, but he was always concerned about it. But how can you just do this, why?
The fact that he even asks why baffles me. There should be a clear reason why such drastic measures were taken. Because of Olivia. Oh. Surely, they hadn't forgotten about Olivia in the week they've been gallivanting. No, it's Olivia's fault. She cheated, can you believe it? Cheated? Yeah. So, I cut her hair as punishment. Shaving heads is like a symbol of repentance, right? I figured if I made her look like that, no man would come near her, and she wouldn't be able to cheat. As if a new mother has time to cheat, holding a newborn baby. However, it seems David suspected infidelity. David abruptly cut into the phone call. Listen, Mom. There are days when Olivia does absolutely no housework. So, what was she doing all day? That means she's with a man. Right, Dad. So, the shallow conclusion these two men came to was infidelity. They couldn't think of childcare as the reason for not doing housework. It's proof of their lack of interest in parenting, leaving it all to the wife. There's proof. I saw Olivia's phone, she was messaging a man from work. Thanks for the baby gift. She even received a branded bib from him. Exchanging gifts means they're intimately involved. I already heard the situation from Olivia. A close female coworker brought together gifts from several colleagues. Small presents like baby bibs and socks wouldn't normally suggest anything inappropriate to anyone. And then, thinking Dad would scold her, he started cutting her hair. Classic Dad, teaching about the husband-wife hierarchy, right? David's breathing was heavy. Olivia didn't cheat. No, if a woman neglects household duties, it means there's another man. Was David always like this? I even hate myself for once believing he was a dependable, good young man. Then let me say this, suspecting your partner of cheating usually means you're cheating yourself, doesn't it? What? No. I mean. He was clearly flustered. I heard from Olivia. You took advantage of her being away for the homecoming to invite women over to the house, didn't you? How did you? So, it was true. You seem to underestimate Olivia a lot, but she sees right through your actions. I could hear him gulp. Bringing different women home almost every day, having them do everything from housework to taking care of your needs. I know you were paying these women. Did you use some trendy dating app? You must have enjoyed feeling like a king. In fact, Olivia was fully aware of David's betrayal. When she confronted David about his infidelity, he turned it around and attacked her. What? David was cheating? Of course, Olivia must have complained, but the foolish Joshua wholeheartedly believed David. He probably cherished his son-in-law, who seemed to dote on him more than his own daughter. You're lying, right? Oh, so David cheated as retaliation for Olivia's supposed affair? David went silent. Even if his personality changed due to Joshua's influence, it doesn't excuse the terrible mistake he made. Who destroys a house over infidelity, anyway? Joshua still doesn't grasp the gravity of his actions. It's not just about the cheating. It's that you hurt Olivia. Even after all this explanation, Joshua and David seemed unfazed. Her? Injured? Don't remember cutting her ear with scissors. I used a clipper for the first time. It was easy. Maybe I could become a barber. The conversation was going nowhere. Olivia faced them alone and was harmed. She must have been terrified. She might have worried they would attack Ava too. Anyway, I'm done with you, Joshua. As you can see, you no longer have a home to return to. Since you seem to prefer David, let him take care of you. All your belongings are at David's place. Of course, neither Olivia nor Ava will be there. After declaring this, I heard disappointed sighs from both of them. I braced for their rage, but perhaps the shock of returning from a trip to find their home gone was too much to process immediately. After hanging up, they eventually showed up at David's apartment. Olivia and I have our ways of keeping tabs on their conversations. Wow, look at all these boxes. Dad stuff, right? Mom really meant it, breaking the house down. What are we going to do? Ah, so the house really is gone. My wife really looks down on me. Even if she has a degree and earns more, she's failed as a wife. To still be speaking ill of me at this point is astonishing. So, is it true that you was cheating, David? Was it Olivia's fault? I did give money to women for fun. Joshua cradled his head with an oh no gesture. Why did it get out? If you're going to play around, you've got to be smarter about it. Apologizing to Olivia now would be too irritating, so I guess we'll just have to keep denying it and say we don't know anything. Understood. Joshua then slumped heavily onto the couch, fidgeting restlessly with a nervous foot tap. Since Olivia was getting gifts from a man, and above all, my wife destroyed our house, she's overwhelmingly in the wrong. Yeah, we're not the bad ones here. He might be pretending to be bold while panicking inside. I couldn't help but speak out, even though I knew it was pointless. Who's not the bad one? Yikes. My sudden voice in the room made Joshua leap like a scared frog. I thought you might be a bit repentant, but in the end, you're only thinking about saving your own skin. What? Where are you? Joshua and David ran to each other, looking around. And they checked under the cardboard boxes as if I might be hiding there. As I said before, I see everything you do. I've been watching, with this camera. A camera? They searched the room and finally noticed the camera on the shelf. Olivia and I had been monitoring the indoor surveillance camera footage on our phones. This also allowed us to converse. Hidden camera. You were spying. That's outrageous. You gotta be kidding. David's twisted face, now completely different from before, filled the camera close-up. Olivia, who had been clinging to me, took a deep breath and declared with resolve. Spying? That sounds so sinister. It's just a camera for watching over children. Spying is spying, right? How dare you, a woman, try to trap me? Next time, I won't stop at just shaving your head. I'll make sure you can't use those eyes of yours. Seeing David's rage, I was at a loss for words. The mask of the good young man shattered completely. I remembered the side profile of Olivia saying, "I don't want to go back," on the last day of her homecoming. Apparently, David had changed after getting married. Despite both of them working, David gradually showed an attitude that household chores were a woman's job and that a woman should pamper her man. Surprisingly, David's tirades and cheating were caught on the surveillance camera. Oh, what a shock. From a safe place, Olivia feigned calmness, aggravating David's nerves further. With a face red with anger, David grabbed at the camera and smashed it on the floor. The camera, now lying on the floor, captured David's stomping feet. Don't mess with me. You think you can trap me, a man, with your schemes. Don't underestimate a man. David, despite having a good education and a job at a decent corporation, acted childishly inside. Perhaps he wasn't just accommodating Joshua, maybe he deeply resonated with his words. Do you have a complex about yourself, David? Is it because Olivia is older, wiser, and earns more? If that's the case, instead of attacking others and dragging them down, you should work on improving your own skills. That's because he doesn't have skills to exceed me, so he resorts to bluffing. I remarked as David stomped around furiously, spewing vile words that denigrated Olivia's character. Presuming to be smart just because you're a woman. His tirade was unbearable to listen to. After enduring it for a few minutes, Olivia quietly mentioned, "You know, this camera has a recording function." Suddenly, the tirade stopped. The transition from vile words to plaintive cries was immediate. No, that wasn't my intention. I was just being spoiled because I love you, Olivia, he began to backtrack. There's nothing more repulsive than the tears of a person who was just swaggering about. Disgusted, Olivia and I ended the call. David dragged Joshua over, and they both started prostrating themselves on the floor. He showed his thinning crown, which only added to the unpleasantness. It's too late for such performative apologies now. The story that follows is what Olivia told me. David showed up at work the next day with a haggard expression. It was his first day back after taking a week of paid leave, and the stares from his colleagues pierced him. "What's wrong? Are you concerned about my swollen eyes? It looks a bit like conjunctivitis, doesn't it?" David's eyes were red and swollen from crying during yesterday's apology. Even as he tried to laugh it off, the coldness from his colleagues remained. David felt as if he was being overtly hostile, crushed under their gaze. Then Olivia showed up. It wasn't strange for her to be there since they worked at the same company, but David reacted as if he'd seen a ghost.
"Why are you here?"
David screamed. "I came to say thanks for the baby gifts."
"What? Now? You don't have to do it now. Don't show your scary face around here."
The timing mattered. Olivia was wearing a hat, but it was clear to anyone that her eyebrows and the front part of her hair were shaved. No one could ignore such a sight. Olivia had only spoken modestly about David, so her colleagues had been half in doubt, but David's panic revealed the truth.
"It's not my fault. It's because she was a bad wife. I was just trying to make her reflect. No, I did nothing. I don't know anything."
No matter how much he tried to deny it, he couldn't escape the truth. Later, Olivia and David got divorced. The reason for their divorce spread quickly through the company, leaving David on tenterhooks. Even as he clung to his job at a large corporation, his time was up. Fired? Laid off? No way, after enduring bullying from everyone in the company, I'm being let go? Olivia reported the physical abuse done to her to the police. David was charged in absentia and fined. He might not have taken it seriously since it didn't lead to a prison sentence, but having a criminal record is no small matter. David can't argue with being fired for misconduct. For the first time in a while, the disconnected baby monitor camera captured David's head. It was cleanly shaved to reveal a scalp that glimmered bluish. "Can you see this, Olivia? I was wrong. Now, I'm unemployed with a criminal record. Are you happy now? As you can see, I've shaved my head as a sign of repentance." Without hesitation, Olivia initiated the call. If only we could rewind time.
"Olivia. Yeah, exactly. Let's turn back time and start over."
Olivia's hair had finally grown enough to be styled into a very short cut, and her eyebrows had also returned. With her clear facial features, she looked like a cool, older sister. And her expressions had become much brighter. "It's impossible.
Time can't be reversed. And if it could, I'd go back to before I ever met you to ensure we never crossed paths."
Olivia's voice was firm.
"This conversation is our last. For everything else, I've enlisted a lawyer."
"A lawyer? We're already divorced, what more is there?" "The compensation for infidelity. Didn't I tell you? The camera has a recording feature. We've got undeniable evidence." David, previously kneeling, punched the floor in frustration.
"I'm jobless now. I've been arrested. And you still want to pursue this? Heartless."
The call was promptly ended. There was no time to entertain his outbursts. As for Joshua, the instigator of the turmoil, despite his reluctance to divorce, he had also acquired a criminal record for assaulting Olivia and was fired from his long-standing job. He was jobless, homeless, and unwilling to lose his family. He occasionally ambushed me near my workplace. I was just irked because Olivia earns more than me. I thought, together with David, we'd show her who's boss. Sort of discipline, or education. Maybe we went too far, but there was no ill intent. It seems Olivia was targeted due to Joshua's inferiority complex. You had no ill intent? Exactly, no ill intent. I'm shocked it's come to this. Resorting to police over family matters. But I'll forgive that. It's perplexing why he thinks he's in the position to forgive. To harm someone without malice is even more horrifying. If you can't comprehend what you did wrong, there's no hope for rehabilitation. I don't want to stay near someone so dangerous. I can't risk you harming my precious daughter or granddaughter again. But Olivia is my precious daughter too. Are you planning to just take her away from me? We're family, aren't we? Hearing him mention family is infuriating. Joshua shamelessly clung on, pleading. Where are you all living now? Let's live together as a family again. I've got nowhere to go. When I tried returning to my parents, they wouldn't even open the door, saying, "You're no longer a son to us." Did you tell them, Olivia? Being disowned by my own father means I've only got you guys left. Olivia herself had informed my in-laws. They were so shocked by their grandchild's miserable condition that it made them dizzy. Knowing he was the mastermind, they refused to accept Joshua back, no matter that he was their son. Eventually, Joshua found himself with nowhere to belong. He ended up lingering pathetically on the now vacant plot where our house once stood, spending days on the bare ground. Of course, being reported as a suspicious person, he lost his place yet again, but ultimately, he ended up at David's. Even though the living room camera was unplugged, the bedroom camera was still connected. Hey, you still haven't found a job? Looks like people without degrees really aren't cut out for success. What? And you're just a part-timer. Even with a criminal record, because I'm smarter, I get hired. That's different from someone with a criminal record and not enough brains, right? Can't even do a part-time job? Such petty squabbling unfolded. They were insulting each other, but surprisingly, they seemed to get along well. Olivia quietly deleted the baby monitor app. She had no interest in their fate, so there was no need to spy on them anymore. It seemed their only income was David's part-time job, so sooner or later, they wouldn't be able to afford the rent for the apartment, and both would end up homeless. Meanwhile, I was living with Olivia and Ava. More than half a year since that commotion, Olivia's hair had grown long enough to cover her ears. The longer her hair grew, the more her smile returned to its usual brightness. I was worried she might become withdrawn, but she was so energetic, wanting not to waste her maternity leave, that she actively went out with Ava. I learned something even from such a father. There are things more important than education or income. Olivia, gently stroking Ava's head, had a genuinely kind expression. Ava, showing off 2 small teeth, grinned widely. I want to protect this smile. Catching each other's eye, Olivia and I surely shared the same sentiment.